little badass, book badass. You little badass, you little badass, book club badass. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Katie.
Welcome, badasses, to the
Badass Book Club podcast. We are here and we are happy to be here. Firstly, though, let's just say thanks to all of our subscribers, our new subscribers on YouTube. We appreciate you. We see you, and we would love to hear from you in the comments. Don't worry, I have questions for you. I need feedback. This book took me some places. So anyway, not to take over.
No.
Katie, welcome.
I love this. I say we jump right in. Like, there we go.
Now we are in. Okay.
Now we're in. Here we go.
So where we left off last week, I don't know if I owe any sort of apologies to Richard Osman, but I would just like to get it out there that it is true I only read about 10 to 15% of the book before I spoke on it. But, you know, I did leave some open-ended feeling there. I knew it had to get better because I've heard so much about this book. I want to take one moment, though, to talk about the author because apparently he's sort of a big deal, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, he's this guy from the UK. He's a comedian. He's a TV producer. He's obviously an author. He does something. Oh, he's a game show host.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you've heard of him?
Once I tagged you in our Instagram, Mr. Osman. I'm not a name person, though. That's my problem.
Yeah.
But I think that's an advantage, though, because you're not reading it expecting anything. You're not reading it knowing the person. Do you know what I mean?
No, totally. Because if I picked up a mystery or like Who Done It by Steve Harvey, I'd be like having some presumptions. I had expectations, to say the least.
Also, Steve Harvey, I really hope that you do that.
Yeah, that would actually be great. Thank you. So anyway, that's an aside about the author. Great work, sir. But where we left off was basically like, okay, this is going nowhere. I finally got to a murder. I'm not sure what's happening here. I was feeling slow. I was over Cooper's Chase, which is the retirement community.
Mhm.
Well, buckle up, buttercups. As you know, if you've caught up and you've read to the end like I have, there are twists, there are turns. Not once did I make a correct prediction about who a murderer would be.
Cool.
I didn't know if there were 3 murderers to the 3 bodies, if there was 1 or 2 murderers.
I'm sorry, 3 bodies?
Yep, it ended up there were 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scandal.
So just to get you up to speed, they cracked the case.
Okay.
And by they I mean the Thursday Murder Club, the 4 lovely, silver sneakers of the community, ended up cracking the case. No one went to jail.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was quite a lot of turns to really up till the last page to really get the full scope of what had gone on and how we had gotten here. But
So
go ahead.
I just need to
Yes.
stop you briefly.
Please.
Okay. This is a come together and conclusion of 2 books. So just to review, it's the Thursday Murder Club and we both finished the Lost Bookshop. So if you have not finished those books, just skip through until I start talking about the 4th wing or circle back because there are going to be spoilers. So this is my spoilers alert to everybody who's following along or listening along. We will be talking about some things because I want to know who was it who did it.
Yeah, and I even played with the idea before I came here tonight. I was thinking, am I going to say who it was? But you guys read it. If you're still here, hopefully you did. And honestly, I'm kind of the type of person too where I don't mind a little spoiler. It's not going to stop me from reading. I will say though, this is the book that you don't want to know the spoiler.
Oh,
personally.
Okay.
And I'm someone who likes to know what are we getting ourselves into,
Right.
But this one you don't want to know. So with that being said, Penny, whose name you have never heard.
No.
Yeah, is the initial murderer. Now, Penny, just briefly, is a former member of the Thursday Murder Club. She has since moved over across the street to the home for the people who are incapacitated, still living, but just not able to live on their own. She's actually unconscious for the entire portion of the book, with the exception of a couple memories. Yeah. And her former occupation was detective. So that's really cool of her. An early case in her life was really sad. A young girl was killed by her boyfriend. He got away. He was never convicted. It was never really in the records. It doesn't say that he was the one. Or
Is that who was murdered?
That's who the body is that they find
Whoa.
in a cemetery, buried on top of a coffin. It's like a nun cemetery that happens to be within the community. If you want to know the details and you haven't read it, obviously you're not listening still, so I won't get into it. But just know, Katie, there's like a convent area and cemetery and all of this that's all around Cooper's Chase, which is the retirement community.
Whoa.
A land developer is the second person who gets killed in the book. He's the guy who came in and is like, okay, enough of this convent business. Let's put some communities here.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Penny really quick. She had taken the law into her own hands and gotten rid of this bad guy. Nobody knew about it, and we didn't know about it until the very end of the book.
So you kind of love her. You hate her lover, like a Dexter Morgan.
We're fine with it if we don't mind a little vigilante justice.
Yeah, good point.
And he was a bad guy. It was, just what she felt she needed to do.
How did Elizabeth feel about it?
So Elizabeth is torn because Penny and Elizabeth were best friends.
Ooh.
Yeah. So just really quickly, I had said in the last episode, I thought that maybe Joyce was a killer because of the first little quote here that we have in the beginning of the book. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but what I will say is killing someone is easy. Hiding the body, now that's usually the hard part. That's how you get caught. I was lucky enough to stumble upon the right place, though. The perfect place, really. I come back from time to time just to make sure everything is still safe and sound. It always is, and I suppose it always will be. Sometimes I'll have a cigarette, which I know I shouldn't, but it's my only vice. Now, I thought that was from Joyce's perspective because she's the only person we hear from first person in the book through her journal.
Interesting.
So I had just assumed, we're hearing from somebody. It's Joyce.
Yeah.
Well, we were hearing from Penny.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that
twisty turn.
Yeah, so Penny, now that brings us to the second murder that I was talking about. The land developer, his name is Ian. He gets killed by a syringe full of fentanyl.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So he's jabbed.
Poisoned, jabbed.
Yeah, exactly. And he's jabbed by none other than another character we haven't heard of until today, John, who is Penny's husband.
Ayo.
Now, Ian wants to develop that area and has the permits to relocate the bodies in the cemetery to another cemetery. Well, guess what will be discovered if those are dug up?
So Penny's husband knew.
Yes, and he didn't know until the dementia had set in and she had let it slip once she was ill. It's not something that they lived with their entire lives.
Okay, so I'm having an emotional response just hearing what's happening. Like you feel sorry for him. You also kind of understand it, and yet you're like, she murdered somebody.
Yeah, and that's kind of extreme. I mean, Ian wasn't a real nice guy, but at the same time, she's already at the end of her life. John is near his. Was that really the only option? Let's just say they had dug up the bodies and all that time they took to research and find who it really was and using DNA. I mean, honestly, by the time they came up with, I don't even know that they could nail Penny with that because she wasn't even the last one to see him.
But it's clever. So, this is pretty clever.
Yeah, for a whodunit, I understand. This is just another thing that happens. Now, the original murder, that was committed by somebody else. The original murder was the construction person who worked under Ian with all these developments. And we were led on these twists and turns. Maybe it had to do with money. Maybe it had to do with this or that. Really, no, it was just more of a revenge thing by a very likable character. His name was Bogdan. And he's my favorite character. He's just this quiet guy. He's from Poland. He just kind of keeps his head down. Murdered somebody, of course. But other than that, his personality is, top notch.
Okay. Wow. And then so these characters, like you said, they get introduced kind of later. How is the club handling all of this? Because I also imagine, I bring us back into it. Here we are, we're part of the Thursday Murder Club, clearly, when we're older in a retirement community.
We are.
And I could totally see somebody who cares about us covering up You know, I'm
Sure.
not saying that I would ever do what those characters did,
Sure.
especially filmed on television. I
Sure.
mean, television, YouTube.
I watch my YouTube on television.
Yeah, exactly. Recorded, but
Mm-hmm.
exciting. I mean, here they are, like, older, and they're, like, discovering this, and there's murders, and, I mean, how do they feel about everything? You touched a little bit about Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, I'd be interested to know how other people, so feel free to let me know in the comments somewhere, because I would like to know if people are sort of on that moral stance. Like,
Yeah.
are we upset that all of this was done and nobody was actually held to justice? I mean, in different ways, they kind of were. Like, let's say Penny passes away. Now, and Elizabeth even goes on to say this, like, Penny, if you can hear us all right now, then, you know, maybe you didn't get away with it because now we know.
Mm.
But Penny, if you've been gone for a while already, you got away with it, girl. You know, and way to go.
Yeah.
And then John ends up taking both he and Penny's lives with the syringe again. He was a vet, so he's just like, you know,
Whoa.
yeah,
Like-
taking life into hands
Wait,
left
a
and right.
veterinarian with animals?
Yeah, so in
Okay.
his former, you know, in his occupation, he was a vet, just meaning he was used to administering,
Right.
you know,
putting
this or
things,
that.
putting animals to sleep.
Yeah. So there's
Wow.
that.
Okay, I have to tell everybody though, the best part about this week, and it's been a week. Ashley did text me, and it's so hard trying to save all of our reactions and comments for you. And she did two things. She recorded herself through these moments, and
It's fresh.
yeah, so that it's fresh. But also, she texted me and was like, "Yeah, so I'm really into it, and I really like it." And I will cut from last week. In fact, I'll insert it probably right about here about her saying that she's going to flip flop on this book because you did.
Frankly, didn't find it that interesting. Now, I haven't gotten that far. I'm only to chapter 10 as of today.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to interrupt you.
Okay.
Because I want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We promised them that we were going to be honest.
I am being honest, and I'm
And that's
leaving room for next week to come back and rant and rave about how don't judge a book by its first 10 chapters. Don't judge a book by its first 10 chapters. Don't judge a book by its first 10 chapters. So... And I sort of knew, well, I felt like I would. Now, I'm not saying that these whodunit mysteries are for me. I'm not going to keep reading the series. They're interesting. And if that's the kind of book you like, then okay, cool. When I think of like a thriller murder mystery, I'm thinking more of these like newer, modern, usually honestly written by females. And not that that has anything to do with it, but that's just kind of what I've noticed.
Your vibe.
Yeah. And it's just like really dark. And, you know, kids are missing or people are, you know, murdered and it's not very cute and tidy. Like, oh, John killed because his wife was going to get caught. You know, it's just all these different things. But overall, I will say like the storytelling was really good. I was wrong, like I said, on every turn. Every time he set someone up to be the killer, I was like, yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. And then it didn't.
So
and it
he
wasn't.
was successful in that then.
For me. And it didn't feel cheesy or anything.
And okay, last week you talked about it going to Netflix. Can you see this being...
Oh, I will definitely watch, and I can. I just really hope that they capture the essence of the characters.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
I think it'll be really interesting to see like who they have play each of the characters because they're just an older generation. Like, are they going to use well-known actors? Are they going to have new faces? It'll just be really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah. And I did, though, want to ask, like, if you were going to solve a murder, what 3 people, and they can be like famous people, people in your life, whatever.
Okay.
Like, do you have 3 people that you might want in your Thursday murder club? Just to give you a little backup while you think about it.
Okay.
Joyce was a nurse. Elizabeth was in the Secret Service. Ibrahim, who was very helpful, or Ibrahim, I'm sorry, was a psychiatrist. And Ron was like a former trade union guy.
Okay, well, I can do this very quickly.
Okay.
You, obviously, you're very researched, and I think it would be fun. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you would keep the questions coming, you get me thinking on it, and now you have expertise in like, no, don't think that way, think this way. And I have a feeling that your life, you're going to read a lot more of those detective novels. And so by the time we're old biddies,
Yes.
you're going to be very well versed.
Okay.
The second person, if she's still alive, would be Casey.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's my wife. She has military experience. She very, very logical. And I also think that, just as I mentioned last week also, she predicts like nobody's business, and she's pretty spot on.
I like
She's
that.
pretty spot on. So I think she'd be pretty good too.
Okay.
And then the third person, I would say, and it could be anybody,
It can be anybody, famous or not.
Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, full circle.
Yeah. You're just going to have to like live a lot longer, but it'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Just because.
Oh my gosh, really quickly, I saw something. No, I've been bringing up Jeff and Jurassic Park in my private life because there's something along the lines of like taking dire wolf DNA and combining it with gray wolf DNA. And like,
just read that article.
Yeah, and
okay, for anybody who doesn't know, Ashley, please tell the world
about
the dire wolf.
Oh, I was like, wait, are we going to bring it back? Okay.
Did you see the article? Wait, do you know they're doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah. Wait, you saw it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was lost. Okay.
Yeah, everybody.
No, that's the gist of it. So there are some scientists out there that got some DNA of dire wolves somewhere in some, I don't know, fossil.
Fossil bones.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it was 10,000 years old.
Oh, so maybe you should tell the people, because you know more than I do. But no, seriously, I saw the headline. I read like the first paragraph. But basically, it was exactly like what we were talking about with the Jurassic Park discussion. So go back to episode 1 if you missed it, because this whole combining DNA from current species to prehistoric species and, you know, what are we doing? How's it going to go? Is it accurate? And all these questions that we talked about.
So I almost wonder if it's the same article. I'm sure there's lots of articles on it now. But even the author of the article that I read concerning these scientists and the dire wolf, they were talking about like, you know, there are concerns out there of reintroducing things like that because it affects all of nature.
Right.
And there's obviously a reason why that species became extinct.
Sure.
But there's an impact also of reintroducing species into other environments, habitats, because wolves eat, they're meat eaters, so there will be an impact in their prey.
Yeah.
But they also went on, I don't know if you saw this, they go on to say that these scientists are considering the woolly mammoth.
Okay, I was going to bring that up because shout out to my brother, but he said that when we were talking about the dire wolf thing. He's like, yeah, and they're also going to do the same thing with like Asian elephants and woolly mammoths and then let them go in the tundra or something.
No, and what are there I mean, is it the law of nature? What are the laws protecting everybody else? I mean, read Jurassic Park and also Michael Crichton. This isn't the first time that an author's predicted the future.
Right, exactly. And I just think that's a little food for thought. And just touching on some pop culture or current events, I was thinking about the pod because
oh my God,
it was resonating.
I love that you saw that. I literally just like read it yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, and then I was like, uh-oh. Sound off the alarm.
Okay.
Hide your kids.
You heard it here first. Although woolly mammoth, I mean, I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah.
But also no. This is the human problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Greedy.
Wow. Greedy.
Curious.
Game of Thrones. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, what was your first reaction? Honestly.
To the dire wolves?
Yes.
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so cool. Give me one.
Yeah. I mean, also possible in a year. There's one lane right there.
Yeah. So. Okay. So we'll circle back.
We'll come back to that one. All right. So wrapping it up. Let's go. What do you put it together, Ashley?
Yeah. So pretty much overall, I would just say if you are a whodunit kind of person, I mean, honestly, you tell me, did you like it? Because this is really the first, like, I don't want to say clean, but just not so dark murder story that I've read. Cool. And I liked it. Oh, and I did think about, too, how the feedback you had heard before was a person who was a little bit later in life reading it and it was too close to home. The more I got into it and the more characters, stories I learned about it, I totally understood where that person was coming from because it was kind of bleak. Like, on some parts it was, and then other parts it's like, well, at least they have their community, at this
Yeah.
point in life. But I don't know. That was just something else I had thought about.
How old is Richard Osman? Isn't he is he a golden? Is he in his goldens?
I think he was born, because I just looked into him, in 1970. So
Okay.
not, I don't think he gets Social Security yet.
No.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or whatever they have.
I wonder where he gets his perspective from.
Yeah, I thought that was also, I did want to learn a little bit about him. He's a huge game show host, is really the
Cool.
gist of what I saw. But anyway, coming soon to Netflix, and I'm really looking forward to that. And overall, I think I would give the book I'm trying to be a little bit more conservative with my ratings. Not everybody can be 5 stars.
Yeah.
But just for the storytelling, this was a good 4-star for me.
Okay, so good 4-star, and even personally, like I would say on your thermometer of enjoyment.
So I would say that in this genre, I'm glad this is what I picked. I'm not going to be continuing with this genre for a while, so
Cool.
it wasn't like it grabbed me so much that now I need to go get the second one.
Mhm.
But I'm happy to know that they're there in case I'm
Yeah.
ever in the mood for something sort of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Something to put in the Easter basket.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so what should we do next? Actually,
Ooh.
we should play like a little game. What do you think,
Ooh.
Ashley?
I think that we should, and I'm really excited for everyone to get to know us a little bit better.
Okay, this is Get to Know Your Co-Host.
Ooh. Okay, you go first.
So we prepared questions for each other, and we're
We
going to
did.
answer them. Okay, so Ashley,
Katie.
if I was a famous author, who would I be?
Ooh, if you were a famous author, who would you be?
Mhm.
You would be.
Okay,
I was about to say.
so excited.
You would be Dr. Seuss.
Shut the front door.
Actually, you would
Like
be
a sexy Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, definitely. I was trying to think of Shel Silverstein, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and who is a favorite author, at least of mine.
Yeah. Heart.
And-
Heart.
Yeah, and the reason is because you had a huge impact on my childhood, just like Shel, and you're a great writer, just like Shel, and I feel like you have great, outlooks, just like Shel.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you.
Sure.
Second of all, I always kind of felt like Shell was kind of deep and dark.
Literally, exactly, and you are too.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, do you want to know what my answer for you would be?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Danielle Steele.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
I mean, you got the
So
murder,
rich.
you got the love, you got the richness. Bringing it back. Bringing it back.
I love that. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So, your turn.
Oh, okay. We'll go back and forth.
Sure.
Oh, okay. This one's kind of like, okay. Who's more likely to look up the ending to a book before they start it? Would you do that ever?
I mean, I kind of think it's like a tie, depending
Okay.
on the book. I feel like we'd both be like,
Yeah.
sometimes.
I haven't done it yet for any of our reads, but like when I was reading a bunch of just really similar books that
Mhm.
were sort of suspenseful, my anxiety would be like, I can't really enjoy this until I know kind of what's going to happen. So I would find myself doing that a lot.
I've done it rarely, but I've done it.
Okay.
And then there's some books where I want to, and I'm like, don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, if it's a story that I'm more interested in, I
Yeah.
won't do it. But if it's just kind of a casual read, I've definitely done it quite a few times.
Okay, so you have the answer, but when you wrote that, what did you think? Did you think it was
I
going to be
just
me?
wanted to learn it about you because
Oh.
I wasn't sure if you were that type of person. I already knew I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder what our club members are like.
Well, let us know.
Yeah. And then the spoilers won't be any spoilers for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so who is more likely to not finish a book?
Oh. Is it also a tie? Because I will quickly not finish a book. And I feel like you just might forget.
Yep. I love that answer.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you typically prefer the book or the film TV adaptation?
Oh.
Is there a typical?
Okay. Yeah, typical book.
Okay.
Because what's in here, very rarely a director or cinema can capture what I imagine,
Ooh.
with one recent exception.
Which is?
Well, to be fair, I haven't read the book.
Oh, okay.
My mom has read the series, continues to read the series, but Reacher.
Oh, we were
Like,
talking about that
yeah,
a little bit.
I
Okay.
mean, I see that and I go, I want to read the book because of it.
Mhm.
And I know that those actors will be in my mind while I'm reading it.
Mm,
And I don't mean
mhm.
the Tom Cruise one.
Right.
Because so my mom started the series and she was talking about the character and she was like, I just don't see Tom Cruise as that.
Mhm.
And then enter the most recent TV series and she was like, that's it. And I'm way more attracted to those characters, Neely, Reacher, the female, the badassness of it, the
Right.
quick to boot. So that'll probably be something I read. And then Jurassic Park, I said you have to kind of let go of both of them. But it started with Harry Potter when I was younger. Like reading Harry Potter, that came out when we were turning 12.
Mhm.
And that's about the age, that Harry enters this world.
Right.
And so it was so relatable and you just dove right in as a kid, I think, and you were able to imagine yourself in those situations and then cinema just couldn't capture it,
That makes sense.
especially in the time.
I never read the Harry Potter books. I have seen the movies. They're fine. They're great, actually. But I often wonder.
I have to pick my jaw off the floor right now.
No, I was going to say, I often wonder if there was a large chunk of my life in which I didn't read because I didn't read Harry Potter as a kid, like so many other people.
Yeah.
I think I would have been like one of those, Harry Potter kids, but I just never read the book. I think I really missed out.
I think you could go back and you could still have an experience if you ever had time. But we recently spoke about how our bookshelves are full.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
Okay.
interesting. Okay. What's your next question?
Oh, is it me?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think so.
great. Who would most likely write a book that goes to screen? How relevant? And what would it be?
Oh.
Like if we were authors and we were writing a book.
I honestly feel like you
Oh,
would
okay.
be more likely to write a book that goes to screen. And perhaps it would be a story of a little drummer girl.
Oh my gosh, I kind of love that.
But
Thank
like
you.
there's it's not all it seems, there's
Yeah.
something. There's a twist. There's something.
Cool. I was going to say you.
Oh.
Just because you're murder.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. But also, I just feel like you understand people so well and you would work with, the TV set people very well.
Oh, that's true. I do see that you would have some disagreements when you see the the screen, whatever it's called, when you're actually seeing what they're going to be doing to your book. You might be like, in fact, this was a big mistake. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Not that I'm a Taurus or anything, but I'm a Taurus. All right, okay. Let's go.
Okay, the last one.
Last one.
What's your favorite book, if you have one, from high school?
From high school.
Can you even remember? We read them all. So if there's like maybe even just a classic, something you can think of.
Okay, so I have memorable, like, specific things that happened in books where I was like, what is going on? To be fair, when we were in high school, that's when Harry Potter was finishing up. And that was kind of a big deal for me, just because of the adventure of it and the conclusion. And it became pretty adult towards the end. There were some really deep, sad, emotional parts because the kids were at war and the movies they touch on it a little bit, but it really was, you kind of grew up with it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That being said, I was a big fan of the original Moby Dick.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You read that?
Yeah, I did. I really liked that and I really liked Poe. Edgar Allan.
I liked a lot of the Poe works that we read. I read Frankenstein in 2 classes, and so I became an expert on it, so it became kind of one of my favorites. I did also like that it was written by a girl.
Cool.
And like the whole situation, she was just like, oh yeah, I'll jot that down.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Okay. I love
That's all.
that. All right, and so that's the moment where you get to know more about us. Huzzah!
Ooh, that was fun. Now, are we going to be talking about anything exciting next?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so can you see my t-shirt?
For those who can't, it says just one more chapter.
And there's a skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly how I feel, and I'm sure all of you have felt this way at some point. And I just was I'm worn out. Like this is one of those moments where I can say life has gotten in the way of my reading.
And when you're reading the most amazing book.
Yeah. So I had to finish the Lost Bookshop before I went back into Fourth Wing, which was really hard to convince myself to do. It's like when you're watching a TV series. We mentioned this before in a previous episode. You're watching a TV series and it's like you zip through it. You know, you spend all weekend and you binge watch, binge read. I was ready to binge read the crap out of this, but I knew like, okay, we have this goal, we need to finish it. And to be fair, Evie Woods, back to you, lady, leaving us on the cliffhanger of the pregnancy of Opaline.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I actually do. Like, I was hooked. It took me to the middle to be hooked.
Same.
And that's when I was like, I feel like this has direction. And then I was just, I tried so hard and it was just a week.
Well, first
Everybody
of all,
has a week,
Fourth
you know?
Wing is a huge book.
Oh, yeah.
And secondly, it was such a good recap that we talked last week. And thirdly, I mean, the characters.
Okay,
I mean, you've come a little bit.
This is what I'll say.
Excuse me.
Was that a pun?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope everybody caught that.
That was really good of me.
Some people might say a little bit. Some people might say a little bit more.
Okay, Zayden, go on.
Okay, so I will make the announcement before I do spoilers, okay, that I did get up to the part where they're back in the challenges. It's through the threshing. It's through we're going to get into that. It's through quite a lot, and she is seeing her mom and the group of the surviving members actually of Fourth Wing are about to do the big competition with everybody. It's almost like a pre-war.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's as far as I got. And they've decided that the best thing they're going to do. Oh, wait. Okay. So if you haven't gotten that far, and it's about page 320, okay, 320. If you haven't gotten that far, you're going to want to skip through this or hold off until you do get that far, because I'm going to give a spoiler right now. In order for them to win, they decide, or I should say, Vi decides that the best thing would be to gather information and to steal it off of her mother's desk.
Right.
Yeah. So that's as far as I've gotten. And so much happens before that. So much hotness happens before that. And I will say, I was trying to fit it in. Not only did I want to fit it in to my life, is what I'm saying. I was trying to make time for it. I couldn't stop. And I took it to work because I have a moment in my job site where I have 40 minutes where it's for me. And nobody else. I'm not responsible for anything else. It's just supposed to be to you. So I thought, I'll read my book. This is not a book that you necessarily want to read unless you feel completely comfortable reading about sexiness and then having to people.
Not suited for work, one might say.
Well, especially depending on what you do. Okay,
I guess that's fair.
I guess it depends on what you do.
So in your case, not suited for work, perhaps.
Yeah, and let's just say I started to get to the part where, so the dragons are Taryn. Is that how you say it?
I think so. That's how I would say it.
That's how you say it?
Yeah.
Her dragon, Vi's dragon, is starting to channel. And she gets overcome.
Intense.
With lust because apparently the dragons are doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you just love how she did that? She's like, oh, not only do you get the badass dragon, it just so happens that
he's very virile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually just going to say, it just so happens that this hot thing that you are like passionate for is synced up with Taryn's dragon. Yeah. The number 2 badass dragon.
Oh, gosh, I know.
Oh my God. I just want to read again.
Badass dragons, badass characters.
Yeah.
Bad ass.
Yes.
Like just so good, or good ass, I should say. Well, yeah, you see.
You're here. You're in.
Yeah,
you know?
you're following along too, and I'm hoping you're nodding your head and you're going, "Oh yeah." And I did catch myself too because I was thinking, okay, our group of badasses, guys, girls. I do think guys could enjoy this because Vi's pretty hot.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the dragons and everything.
Yeah, the battles. Yeah, the wars.
But it might lean a little bit more like girl, just because Rebecca does such a good job of getting into that tension
Yeah.
and just like the wanting, the lust,
Yeah.
But I'm not a dude, so I would love to hear a guy's opinion on this
Sure.
for sure. So anywho, it's that part. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to read a little bit more, but here I am at work.
Sure.
And then it gets hotter as the dragons get hotter. And Vi goes outside and sees, as you mentioned, Xaden. Yeah. And Xaden, who is also linked up. And then they have this explosive moment where it is, and Rebecca spends a few pages teasing it.
Right.
And they're like, no, it's the thing you can't have, but you want. And I shouldn't want it, but I want it. And she does a great job of building up the friend character who completely disappoints her and breaks her
oh,
heart
that's right.
and doesn't trust her. And I don't like him. I do not like Dane. I mean, I don't know how anybody else feels, but it's like right off the bat, you're a disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you continue to be a disappointment.
Yeah.
And every time she needs you, you're not there. But in doing that, Rebecca sets you up perfectly to love Xaden.
Yep.
Like you love him.
Yeah.
Because every step of the way, he believes in her. And then it's played off as like, he's just doing this to kill her.
Right.
So
Or like it's in his best interest that whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like I went looking for a Rebecca Yarros t-shirt because that's how into her writing I am.
Yeah.
Because it's adventure from the beginning to the very end. Like when you set the book down, like when you have to set the book down, I should say, you're in an adventure. You're in another event that is taking place that is significant and exciting. So you want to pick it back up to find out what happens. And then it's just one after the other all the way till, I mean, I'm not at the end yet, but I will say that one of our golden badasses started to read this and finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the weekend. And more power to you. You know who you are.
You do.
You do. So I love that, but let's talk about the threshing. So, she sets you up for Violet earning her dragons or being killed. And then when you look at the book, you're like, okay, she's not gonna get toasted unless this author does something crazy and like switches perspectives, which is possible. There are some authors that do that.
Yeah.
And there are other characters that get
toasted.
The good thing is that you're finally like some of the characters you don't like get toasted.
Right.
And you always have Mr. Jackass who escapes, at least at this point in the story.
Yeah.
They have a lot of hit and miss. Speaking of Harry Potter, it's kind of like Malfoy. You always have that character that's a thorn in the side.
Yes.
But it adds the drama.
Right.
It just adds the drama. And Vi's going through it and she meets this beautiful Feathertail.
Yeah.
And it's this sweet little dragon, the sweet golden dragon. And you instantly have a soft spot for it. You just do. And she basically ends up getting her dragons called to her because these three guys want to kill this baby dragon. We find out through these pages, and they tried to attempt to do it, and she stands up for them, and she knows that the odds are against her. This is Violet, and she is the underdog.
Yeah.
And you love her for being the underdog, and she does the badass thing, and
it pays off.
And it pays off because then she gets the most badass dragon who eventually starts to talk with her mentally through their connection and basically says that because she was willing to sacrifice herself and stand up to these horrible people, she was worthy. And then that dragon wants her as well.
Yeah.
And there's like really cool things that start to happen as she develops, and all the while she's connected then to Xaden through the dragons. And we come to find out that if there's a paired dragon, a pair of dragons that are mated together, that if one of the riders dies, then basically it destroys the dragons.
Right.
So you have this amazing bond that you form as a reader with not only the characters, but then their dragons who also you get to know, and they have different personalities. And I just really like it. I think the writing is easy. It flows well. You know, there's nothing holding back. And as I was saying, I wanted to get a Rebecca t-shirt. Actually, full circle. Sorry. This is how my brain works. Went to her website. She didn't have t-shirts, but she is a sexy writer.
Oh.
She has a lot of other books. If anybody else is looking, like this is not her first few books. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So I love that she got into the fantasy world, and I'm curious what her other books are like, to be honest.
Interesting. I am too.
Yeah. I might even go the Festival of Books this year. It's the 30th annual Los Angeles Times, and it's going to be at SC this year, USC, my alma mater. So I might have to go there. And Rebecca, I know you're going to be there. She's already sold out. So I don't know if our paths will cross, but she's actually going to be one of the guest speakers. Isn't that cool?
Maybe you'll get lucky.
Oh my God. I'm already lucky.
Okay, that's
oh
true.
my gosh, I'm already lucky. I hope you guys feel that way too. But yeah, Dane sucks. Jack, okay.
I was gonna say, do you have a favorite like ancillary character, like not Zayden?
Liam.
Yeah.
Liam.
Yeah.
And there's almost a moment where she hooks up with Liam, and I kind of wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe later. I don't know. You guys, please don't tell me. Just don't tell me if you already know the answer to this. But I could see it happening. I'm for it. I'm for that. I'm for Zayden. Like, I love Rhi, or
Yeah.
is it Rhiannon?
Yeah.
You kind of like, isn't that I want to say she's an artist from the 80s who Stevie Nicks. Wasn't there a song?
Yeah, Rhiannon.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I play in my head like every time it happens.
Yeah.
She's kind of a badass too. I hope she doesn't die, but we'll see. I'm just you might be able to hear me like
Turning.
I'm turning in my chair to look at Ashley because she's already read through the second, and I know there's a third. I'm not going to be able to put this down. If you are a wing leader or a rider, if you're on this dragon ride with me, oh my Lord, like it's going to keep going. I can't stop. And I'm kind of glad that I'm at like the middle of it.
Yeah.
I know I'm not a beginning fan.
You're
but
in like, my eyes are just like so envious. You're in the most perfect, amazing,
oh
best
gosh.
part. Like, I'm not saying it's not going to get better because
Yeah.
I haven't read the third one yet either, but like you are just in such a honey spot right now.
It is so, it's honey and money. Oh my gosh. And it's neat because this is blowing up.
Yeah.
Like this, you guys, if you haven't grabbed it, if you haven't seen it, like seriously, Fourth Wing, Rebeccas Yarros. I know I sound just like this horny little schoolgirl right now, like Britney Spears all up in this. Sorry, that was a 90s, 2000s reference, but you know, grab it, just do it because it's actually well written too. It's not just this adventure that I'm talking about. It's so layered, and it's like we talked about last week. It just flows, and I'm excited to read it.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I'm like really excited. Yeah, we have some nice books, very different books,
Sure.
but
It's nothing compares really.
except for when I was little reading Harry Potter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very different though. Do not be expecting Harry Potter for anybody who's reading this.
Oh, sure.
Maybe Harry Potter fantasy,
Yeah.
you know, fan writing,
Yeah.
some fan fiction there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So made it to 320. Honestly, this is going to be my vibe for the next few days. And
Honestly,
We're gonna
too,
finish
like you'll finish it, but like don't rush it. Like enjoy it. I know you probably
Yeah.
want to rush it. I read it so quickly too, and I just wish I could go back. I mean, I could read it again, and like just hearing you talk about it, I don't know how long I can wait. This might become like the Empyrean series recap session because
yeah.
I might have to read the third one coming up at some point. So we'll see
maybe,
what happens.
Maybe a future shared read.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I can wait. I can wait a little while.
and hopefully that, I mean, here's the thing though, like we like to hit a lot of different books, especially because we're a book club and not everybody's going to be into this.
Even though honestly
should be.
I didn't think I was going to be into it. I'm trying to think like how did I even get into it?
Yeah.
I think I just saw somebody recommend it and then another person and then another person. Then finally I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I think it would resonate with a lot of different types of readers.
Sure.
I mean, mature readers,
Yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
Because it is sexy, but gay, straight, all of the above,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
older, younger. I mean, it's a fun adventure. You have the adventure, you have the war, you have the badassness, you have this conflict, you have the violence, and then you have this incredible, beautiful tension between characters
Yeah, and
and
just-
character development.
Rebecca's writing too. I would be really interested, and maybe she'll talk about this at USC USC. But
Fight on.
I just can't wrap my mind around how you even tackle. Like, I'm just picturing this desk or whatever.
Wow.
I just can't even articulate what I'm trying to say, because how things are connected in the book, like from this to that, to the dragons, to the world, to the people, to the families, to this. It's just, I'm not doing it any justice. If you've started reading it, you already know. But like, my mind is just so blown away every time I think about how she
Major
has
props.
like intertwined and made it so perfect and wrapped it up
easy.
in a sexy little package.
And easy. And, you know, we'll talk a little bit about the contrast with Lost Bookshop. Different writing styles, definitely. But to your point about Rebecca, that's kind of why I was blown away with all the other books that she has and series. So she's able to live in these worlds. And I'm telling you, it's a world that's created.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled. Please, readers, start commenting on our Insta, because I want to talk about it with you.
And actually, on that note, if anybody has read Rebecca's work outside of the Empyrean series, I would love to know what your thoughts were. If you have a recommendation, I might have to pick up a third just for funsies book that I read like 10 minutes every day, because I'd really be curious to know like what that experience is like.
Me too. In fact, I had to bring out a reading light for this book. Yeah, there have been a couple midnight sessions.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody else has gotten to the book light, but
I need to, because I was a digital reader prior to this, and now I'm a physical reader, and so it really cuts down on the amount that I can read, because there's like maybe a kid like literally on me, and so I'm just like, you know, I think I need one of those. That's what I'm trying to say.
I love it. All right, so are you ready for it?
I am ready for it.
Are you guys ready for it?
Are you guys ready for it?
We found the Lost Bookshop.
We did. We went along for the journey.
Yes.
I have some thoughts. Should we start with where we left off last week?
Holy moly, yeah. Or just general thoughts. Go for it. I'll let you lead this one.
I thought it might be fun if we read the predictions.
Okay.
As a place to start.
Oh, you guys don't even know what we did. This is so fun.
So we made predictions. Mine are not like earth-shattering. I just a few thoughts about what we thought would happen when we left off in the middle around page 200, right when we found out Opaline was with child.
Yep.
So would you like to read yours?
Okay, so I think this is fun. And to clarify for you guys, we went home right after the last taping of the podcast. And we were like, okay, I have an idea. Let's each write down what we think is going to happen by the end of the book, put it away, and see if it came true. So I think you should read mine, and I'll read yours.
Okay, if you can read my writing.
Oh, for sure. So nice.
Okay, well, I'm going to read Katie's.
Okay.
Actually, read mine first, because I just feel like yours is going to be better. Like, mine's going to be like, okay, yeah, we know.
Well, I was hoping they're the same.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you made a few. I love it. Okay, already mentioned, I'm not convinced Madame Bowden is real, but no idea if she's a spirit, hallucination, or someone from the past sort of reincarnate. Ooh, okay. I think Martha and Henry do end up finding the bookshop, because the book starts with Martha working in a bookstore. So clever.
Smart.
You're such a detective. I think the tattoo is the manuscript.
Yeah.
Opaline is having a baby, so that must mean she's related to Henry, Martha, or Madame Bowden. My guess is Bowden. Amazing predictions. But amazing predictions.
Okay. This is the Last Bookshop prediction. Martha is the missing manuscript. Well, yes, Henry is looking for. And coincidentally, the missing Bronte manuscript too, Opaline is looking for. Martha parallel. Tattoo on back? Yeah, let's go. Mic drop. Katie's prediction, page 100 up to chapter 27. Okay, those were extra notes that you guys probably didn't need to read, but she made it on a certain day.
On on a certain day.
Which
love
I
it.
won't say. Why date us?
Why date us? I mean, this is everlasting.
Evergreen,
Yeah.
everlasting.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
so
Everlong.
we were right. No. Was it obvious? I don't know.
Snip, snip. Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the thing, right? We both were pretty accurate on several things we
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
And you guys are probably nodding your head too. So, I mean, I can tell you how I feel about it. Because it was predictable, that's why it was a little harder for me.
Sure. And I mean, I was wrong in guessing that Madame Bowden was the person who was related to Obeline. But like, honestly, maybe I wasn't. Like, is the bookstore a part of the family?
Okay, so I actually want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Madame Bowden. Is she the bookstore?
I think so.
But is she or is she Martha's spirit? Or
Right.
not Martha, Opaline's spirit.
Right.
As part of it, because I tried to go back, and this is what I was trying to find earlier when I told you I was having a moment trying to find it.
Sure. I remember.
Yeah. And I was trying to find out when she talks about all of her husbands who died.
Oh.
Because if you're talking about your husbands who died, then are you a living person, or was that just added in there? Or is she the bookshop? Is Bowden the bookshop? Or is she a part of Opaline? Like, very, very confusing, because especially, and this was the one thing that I really enjoyed, was that thought. What you seek is seeking you. And it was carved into the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And what you seek is seeking you. I mean, there's a lot with that.
Like, it's like they're looking for the bookshop, but the bookshop was obviously looking for Martha because Martha was drawn to
And
that
Opaline was looking for
place
her baby the entire time, waiting for her.
to come back, and Martha ends up coming back.
And it's not necessarily her baby,
But
but
it's
a
pretty
generational.
Pretty close. You got me thinking, though, with that whole husband thing. Like, I don't specifically remember, one was a pilot, one was this, one was that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to like draw some sort of connection there with the people who have run the bookshop in the past, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, okay, so
There might be more to that.
not a pilot, but remember, Opaline ends up with the nice man who had
the guy from
Austria, and he was in a plane that crashed.
Oh my
Which
gosh,
brought him
I'm
there.
actually having chills right now, which is telling me that Opaline is saying that we're hitting the nail on the head.
I just got chills too. I mean, you guys tell us what you think, but that I think is pretty spot on.
That is something I miss, and it's making me like the book a lot more.
I think that's okay. So
That's fun.
yeah. Tell me what you liked about it. Let's do it this way, if you'd like to. It's
Sure.
up to you. Tell me what you liked about it, and maybe what you think could have been different.
Okay, so I'm going to start with things that I didn't like about it because that's what's on my mind.
Okay.
I didn't really care for, like, obviously we're suspending disbelief. There's some magic realism. I'm totally love all that. But there were some things that I couldn't quite suspend. For example, that had nothing to do with magic. Henry, send a text once in a while. Like, also, too, with Martha, she's more spiritual and she's got this sort of like thing in her that says we're not just going to like let the manuscript to light, like it doesn't belong to us. We're, it's just a part of her in this situation.
Right.
But the fact that she didn't want to like tell Henry like first thing the moment she found out that that's what was on her back was a little crazy to me. Like, I understand she was having pause, but like I guess this isn't the real world, but like for me, that was tough. And their communication just the whole time was like tough for me.
And I think maybe that's why Evie threw in so much of their own story about the different events and trauma in their life. Like, to remember, Henry's dad was not really a great dude.
No.
And, when you have experiences like that, your perspective on life and your hesitancy or your self-doubt might be a little bit more significant.
And neither knows for sure how the other person feels about them because of their baggage that they're both carrying. So I do understand, but I'm sorry, this man has dedicated his life to looking for the manuscript. Opaline dedicated her life to looking for the manuscript. Somehow that guy with the briefcase is a part of all this, which I'm kind of missing too. But like the moment I read the thing and then I saw the thing and I'd be like, hey, I got to tell somebody.
Right. And, and then they have this connection. However, I mean, maybe that's why, that's the advantage of having the 3 different perspectives, because we know how Henry feels and we know how Opaline
True.
feels, and or sorry, not well, technically
we
we do.
do.
But Martha, we know how
Right.
Martha feels, and you're looking at the 2 of them, and just like in any honestly classic romantic
Sure.
movie, you're like, you feel this way, you feel this way,
Just
quit
do
being
it.
dumb.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you didn't have all the perspectives,
Yeah. I would still tell.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
True. No,
And so that
it's
was
a
like
good
the
point.
one little thing where I was like, okay. But overall,
I thought Henry was a weak character too.
okay.
Let's just say what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, he was essential, and he was probably written so that we would feel that way, honestly, because the men, to be honest, in the big scheme percentage of men in this book were not great.
No.
You know, the Austrian guy ended up being cool, but for the most part, they were all very disappointing.
I mean, even Matthew.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, he has this beautiful shop. And then she throws in there, oh, he's married. And so he's not really like available. And yet he's making this connection. Or maybe that's human, right?
I mean,
Sometimes people are,
yeah.
with people and
Yeah.
then they connect with somebody else. And I don't know.
Yeah. And then Evie did briefly also explain away like that the little tin with the actual manuscript is in a vault in a bank somewhere. So
At the end.
yeah, I mean, it was kind of like whatever about that. But for the most part, and this isn't really a genre that I'm like drawn to necessarily, for a book that I wouldn't have just picked up and thought, oh, let's read it. I thought it was a pretty good book.
Cool.
Like I'm happy that we read it. I'm happy that it's like in my brain. There were definitely some likable things for sure, which for me were mostly Madame Bowden. I liked how Martha and her mom had like that connection towards the end when the mom came to visit. And not only was that a way for us to find out there was actually a, relation, like a family thing, but also just having that little like peace moment and clearing the air and explaining their sides of things. I thought that was nice.
Nice. Well, I'm going to piggyback off of that, if that's okay.
Please.
While it's fresh in my head, the criticisms that you have are fairly similar. The way that it was written, some of it seemed choppy.
Yeah.
Like there were good ideas that helped the story to progress. There were good ideas that created drama, but it was the moments where the drama existed almost seemed thrown in and a little bit jarring because they were kind of thrown in. Like the build up to the baby, even then, it was very slow and then baby.
Right.
Not, it wasn't. Maybe it didn't need to be more than that, but then, the years jump and we got to talk about it. That second half of the book, she's in an insane asylum.
Yeah, I totally completely forgot to mention that I hated that. I mean, I understand it as part of the book, but like reading it, I hated that.
Yeah. And it took a big chunk out of the history. And I understand a bit of the purpose, but it also kind of seemed like it felt as a reader like, okay, this was an idea that developed as the book was developing and then it was thrown in there. I don't know if there was a lot of foresight into it. And I just want to clarify, Evie Woods, I think you are a beautiful writer. I am intrigued about some of your other pieces. That being said, I will have some criticisms because not every book's going to be everybody's favorite. And I think there were some things that could have made it stronger for me, not necessarily other people, but for me. And it was those jarring parts, such as Daddy, Father, Brother.
Oh, exactly. The number 2 thing I was thinking of when you said what you said. Yeah. Like it was kind of like, I mean,
Lyndon, the brother who put her in the insane asylum and all this, very like it's one conversation that happens at the end where it's like this is revealed. And I'm almost like, is that even necessary?
Yeah. And then we had a little moment too where he's like explaining away his behavior and where he's coming from. And I'm like, what's the motive there? Are we just getting to hear another part of the story? Are we supposed to be feeling empathetic towards him? Like, what is this? And I guess to each their own. But it was something that I was kind of like, I feel way out to the left right now. Where's the bookshop?
and I think that was my difficulty with it.
Yeah.
There were so many of those moments like put in, and it wasn't like 1 or 2 moments. There were several. And I didn't feel that they were as necessary.
Yeah.
But to talk about the things I did like, last episode, I was speaking of how some of the phrasing that she does is beautiful. And through the characters and the different lenses, she definitely accomplishes these lessons. And I think the dynamic of having 3 different stories allows for the different lessons that are learned. And so I pulled a few from there. On page 244, I stole a glance at her reflection in the mirror. The features seemed to shift around, like shadows as the sun passes overhead. The imagery is beautiful there. And then Madame Bowden says, "Listen to me, Martha. If you're not scared, then you're not living." And so having these characters teach each other lessons, which is more of just a reflection of their inner character, I think, was nice. Page 253. It is strange how seemingly inconsequential conversations suddenly take on the mantle of fate and destiny when cast in a new light. And I probably read that a little scattered, but I liked that idea too, how those conversations that you don't think have great purpose end up become like so much of your life and the lessons that you learn. And then from Henry, 283, this was my happy place, researching people who were long dead and forgotten by the world at large, as though the very act of my shining a light on them would somehow bring them back to life for a fleeting moment. A little bit later, maybe it was a comfort to know that my life was just a page in the great history book of human endeavor.
That does say a lot about Henry, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean,
and it's really nicely said.
Yeah, and for me, just the thought of that's what we all are.
Yeah.
We're a page in a book. There are a few more too that I thought were really beautiful. Here's some of the imagery that was just so well written to me that created that magical surrealism, like very vivid. My mind could go there. And she drops these nuggets kind of like at the beginning, but then they become so grand as they developed at the end of the book. Really, it kind of just ramps up the last 3 chapters.
Yeah.
There was no light save for the moonbeams softly coming through the tall windows. I mean, you could picture that. You could be there in that, seeing that. And the word, softly coming through. I love it. The absence of light save for the moonbeams. I smiled to myself and often fell asleep like that, cradled in the corner of the dark green walls, wooden shelves with fluttering book leaves shimmering overhead. Book leaves shimmering overhead. So this is where I go, Evie Woods, thank you. Because in those moments, my brain just kind of went, like you hugged my brain. It was beautiful. And I really appreciated that. I mean, I thought it was very poetic. I loved it. And then at the end, like I said, you jump into the magic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's another criticism that I have. I felt better in the magic.
Yes.
Like I loved that.
Yes, I agree. And maybe it's good. I mean, it's called the Lost Bookshop because when we were talking about the bookshop, when we were in the bookshop, describing the bookshop, even a little bit looking like when they were going through the tunnel, when they finally got to the attic, when Madame disappeared, all of that, totally agree. And then it was those sort of jarring like little moments, these glimpses of these other situations where I could have done without. I do understand why they're part of the story. Yeah. But I agree with you in the fact that I really enjoyed reading those magical moments.
Yeah. Well, good. So, I would give this another 4. It's not something I'd just jump into again, knowing what I know, but it wasn't a bad read.
Something else I did want to say too is I feel like, maybe this is her thing, but I feel like maybe there was a lot of research going on there when we talked about like Sylvia and the other gal, all the authors and the works that she brings up and how this like ties into Emily and her work. I thought that was really interesting. I went to go look into some things because there's a Netflix movie that, from what I read, is more so fictionalized about Emily.
Okay.
And I even was like thinking, should I read Wuthering Heights? But then I read the first paragraph and I thought, I'm sure it's great. I'm just not in the headspace right now for something from a different, time altogether, different century.
I like that you say that though too, because, I wouldn't say this is my favorite right now, but maybe at a different point in my life, I would have picked this up and go, oh, I love all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not today.
And with that,
we're putting it back on the bookshelf.
uh-huh.
Unless anybody wants to borrow it. But I do have a little surprise. We talk a lot about different books. This will not be a read book. This was a gift, and I just wanted to bring in this suggestion. Mind Over Batter. 75 Recipes for Baking as Therapy by Jack Hazan, Malmhc. So this guy is great, and I've already been through some of it. The perspective of baking for mental health, and I love cookbooks. I love that this was gifted to me, and I just wanted to give a little shout out and a little suggestion for those of you who like cookbooks, because cookbooks are essential parts of literature, and there's little excerpts and explanations of how some of these recipes and foods can fill your soul. So,
Ooh, I love that.
And now our shared read. What's next, Ashley?
Okay, so I had mentioned before I was interested in getting into a little Stephen King. After quite a bit of research, mostly, what are his novels that are less than 300 pages, less than 400 pages, what hasn't been adapted yet, what's going to be adapted this year. Lots of thoughts went into this. This might seem random, I don't know, because I've never read any of his works, but what we will be reading is The Running Man.
Yes!
Now, something that's fun and exciting about this that I wasn't aware of until I did my mini deep dive into Stephen is he actually wrote a few works under a pseudonym, which, is it on this? I don't know if it is, but this is one of them, Richard Bachman.
Cool.
And the reason was back in those days, the publishers didn't want you releasing more than one novel in a year because of like oversaturation and whatnot.
Amazing.
So he's like, okay, how about this name? And then he also was interested, from what I read, I didn't ask him this, how his works would do without his famous name tied to them.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a fun little experiment for him.
Mm-hmm.
This was actually adapted into a movie in 1987, which was a great year. And in November of this year, another remake of the same. So I'm like, okay, if it's still in the works, if it's still in Hollywood, maybe it's a story worth reading.
I love it.
And it doesn't help that it's kind of a shorty. So that's where we're going to be, The Running Man by Stephen King.
All right, so I'll get my copy. You guys get your copies.
We're getting our copies. And what I will be reading next, as I did finish The Murder Club, is The Antidote.
Ooh.
Now, this is by an author, Carrie Russell, who wrote something called Swamplandia that was up for a Pulitzer. And I almost chose that one to read, but I just the vibes were a little dark. And that was the case too with a lot of Stephen stuff. We'll see how dark this gets. There was a couple other that I was leaning towards, but I also wasn't really trying to hear about descriptions of kids dying because they're on a long walk. I don't know. If anybody's read The Long Walk or The Longest Walk, I'd love to know what you thought about it. But anyway.
Wait, so it's Antidote by who?
By Karen Russell.
Okay.
And best-selling author of Swamplandia, which I haven't read, but it's
awesome.
New. And it's supposed to be what all the kids are going to be talking about. So I thought, hey, I'm one of those people. Let's talk about it.
Is it another thriller? What's up with it?
I don't know much about it. So that's exciting. All I know
Ooh.
is she was recognized for her first work. This one is just released. So I don't want to do any spoilers. I'm not even going to read the back myself. I'm just going to jump into it. So feel free to look into it to see if it's your style. But I don't know much about it. I think it might be a little bit dark, but I don't know much.
That is amazing.
I'm surprising myself.
Okay, I can't wait to hear about that. Can't wait to get my running shoes on. And we all know that I will be finishing Fourth Wing this week.
And we're really excited for you.
I'm really excited for me too.
If anybody else besides our person that we do know has finished it and already read it, can't we all just take a moment to be really excited for Katie because she's reading one of the best books ever written.
Oh my word. Okay, I love you guys. This is great. Ashley, you're a badass.
You guys are badasses too.
Thanks for tuning in. Read on, readers, you little book badasses.
And we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.